You are listening to the Gritty Podcast, where we talk about all things gritty. Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I'm Brian Call. I've got Brad Hunt here with me, and we're going to talk briefly about fitness, what we're doing, what I'm doing, what you're doing, Brad, to be in shape. We've been getting a lot of questions. We always do this time of year, especially. It's like New Year's resolution time.
Off season.
The off season. What do you do to stay in shape? What do you do to be fit? I'm 50 years old.
Yep.
Ryan Lampers is 51. Brad is
a whopping 36.
Yeah. So Brad says doesn't matter. You know, he could eat McDonald's probably.
But my case, to be fair, I'm looking at some of my buddies who are a few years younger than me, and I'm like, dude, I'm crushing you on fitness wise.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I figured we'd just touch on it briefly on this episode and maybe dispel some myths even, but kind of tell you where we're at, what we're doing to stay in shape health wise. Okay. I'll just start off by saying my carnivore style diet has completely changed the landscape for me.
Absolutely.
That is the foundation of my health at this point. It's been that life-changing. It's been a year. I started basically in February.
Yep. You February 1, I think, will be 1 year for you, and March 1 is 1 year for me.
Yeah. So here we are at a year. Basically, when I started doing carnivore, we go back and listen to our podcast if you want to learn a little more about it. I don't want to rehash that here.
Yeah.
But the diet itself was, hey, I eat beef, a lot of red meat, 3 times a day, eggs, bacon, not so much pork and chicken much, but I'll throw in some bacon once or twice a week.
Yep.
And, but mostly it's steaks and beef and burgers and whatever.
Game.
And then I do have a little more. I do have some dairy, some cheese, things like that. What it did was it has slowly made my gut healthier. It's made me far more alert. My brain is sharper. My recovery rates are super high. I don't have any problem hitting a heavy workout or a hike or a run or anything and recovering like right away. Yeah. This carb thing.
And no gas, people. Brian has no gas.
Yeah, there's no gas. There's no bloating. There's no stool or bowel movement problems.
No, none.
It's just all of a sudden I feel healthier, fitter, stronger. I leaned out. Body composition only got more shredded probably. The belly is pretty much gone. In the past, even though I would be fit and stuff, I kind of always had a little gut.
Absolutely.
That's kind of, it's weird how much that's just gone. I think some of it was bloating in the stomach area from constantly trying to eat vegetables and all the stuff that I never eat now. I think there's part of that. And then I think there's visceral fat down in those organs and stuff that is no longer there because of how I eat. Last year, we did a couple of seminar events that were like 2.5, 3-day weekend events. We're doing those again this year. We're going to 4 different Shields locations, and we're going to do a seminar. Myself, Ryan Lampers, and Mark Livesay. One of them is a bear tour event. And
Boise, Idaho.
The other 3 are elk related. Yep. So if you want to come to those events, they're in 4 different states.
Idaho, Montana, Colorado, and Texas.
There you go. To learn about it, we're calling it the Peaks Tour. Go to treelineacademy.net. Go over there, look up the Peaks Tour information there. You can sign up, come join us. Like I said, it's myself, Ryan Lampers, Mark Livesay. We're going to be at each of those events. Come, learn, and ask us questions. It was a hit last year when we did it, so I think you're going to enjoy this one. It's a fun multi-day event, and hope to see you there. Go to treelineacademy.net and look up the Peaks Tour. So that's kind of the foundation. And what that did was it reduced my dependence on exercise or my need for exercise to sort of counteract my, I guess, kind of what I was eating. And I was eating well before. I would classify my diet as paleo for the most part. Whole foods and paleo.
Yep. I did the same.
A lot of vegetables, stayed away from grains for the most part. A lot of lean meat. Not a lot of
high. That's what I think where like drastically has changed is the amount of fat.
Animal fat is just way higher.
Same here. Yeah.
I had a lot of olive oil in the past. I never have that now. It's like beef tallow and
Butter.
animal and butter. So that diet absolutely transformed my wellness, my health, my alertness. I go to sleep at night and I pretty much wake up after 7 hours of sleep like clockwork.
Yep.
I feel refreshed. Well, I can exercise very intensely. I can do a lot of endurance stuff, a lot of even some explosive and high intensity stuff, and I am good to go the next day. The soreness is very minimal. The recovery rates are very fast. So for to put it in perspective, I did like 100 push-ups, probably 30 or so handstand push-ups. I did a bunch of like 30 pull-ups, and then I did 185-pound cleans. I did like 5 sets of 5, and then I did front squats with the same load. I probably did 20 of those. I did a lot of one-legged squats, some pistols, and then I did some skin the cat on the Olympic rings and some assisted muscle ups because it's been a while since I've done those on the Olympic rings for gymnastics
No reason blowing a shoulder out when you haven't done it for a while.
Yeah. And so all of those things I did like Monday, and the next day I wake up and I'm a little sore in the triceps, a little shoulder tightness, just standard level sort of soreness that I would get from a moderate, like a basic workout. A workout like that with that much volume and the intensity would typically 2 years ago, before the carnivore diet, would have made me just hurt to the touch.
Isn't it crazy? Like, even I can't speak for you, but for myself, when I do a workout or a hike or a run or whatever, and I'm a little sore the next morning, how quickly that inflammation before lunch is gone. Like it's non-existent almost.
Even if I do wake up and I'm like, "Ooh, my back is tight."
Right.
I wake up and within like 10 minutes, it's not. I can't tell I'm sore
no joke.
Anymore.
Like, it's the craziest thing.
It reminds me of playing basketball in high school, staying out. I'd play like at the church, and we'd play till like 2:00 in the morning.
Right.
I'd get up at like 6:00 in the morning to go to seminary and to go to school. I'd get up, I'd go, and I would wake up going, "Oh, dude, I played basketball for like 4 hours the night before into the wee hours, didn't sleep, woke up, and I'm sore." And then by like 10 a.m., I can't hardly tell that I played, even though I did that, because you're so young and the body's like,
and that's how I'm feeling.
Getting loose.
At 36.
Yeah, and it reminds me.
Which is crazy.
It does. It reminds me of a younger stage of my life where I would do hard, intense, reckless things, wake up and go, "Oh, my feet. My feet are so sore." And I'd walk, and within 15 minutes, they were no longer sore anymore.
Well,
that's like a young thing.
Yeah. And
young person thing.
I've never been like I need a lot of sleep type person. Never have been.
Yeah.
And dude, if I like 6 hours of sleep a night, and I will say I'm going to bed early, I'm going to sleep as many hours as I can, and I'm like, it's always 6 hours or less, and I'm like, poop, I'm awake and ready to go. That's the weirdest thing.
That's one thing on carnivore that I've noticed, and I was just saying this the other day to my daughter. We were having this conversation. I do not sleep the amount of hours I used to.
Yeah.
And I don't seem to need to. So often I'm just awake at 7 hours, 6.5, 7.5. Like if I go heavy working out, if I go to bed, it's like I'm waking up at that 7.5 hour mark. It's like there's a circadian rhythm in play.
Right.
The body's just saying, get up and go do things. And then I wake up, I'm ready to wake up. I'm like, okay, let's go. There isn't this.
Yeah. I don't notice as much because I think it's getting so dark so early through this winter season. But through the summer and fall, man, like as soon as that sun would go down, I was like, it's time for bed.
Yes,
and then I'd wake up early in the morning. But now it's not as much because I think there's so many hours of darkness throughout the night. My body's kind of like,
Yeah, the first 90 days of carnivore, I slept more than I'd slept in years. There were lots of times where I'm just like, dude, I am beat.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a process of adapting to, eating differently. whatever it is, I don't know. It was oxalate dumping. Maybe it was keto flu or whatever they want to call it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be like 8:30 at night, and I'm like, dude, I've got to
bedtime.
And I would crash, and I would wake up at like 8 a.m.
Yeah, and that's
like,
I noticed. I didn't get like the sickness. Like you had a lot of like the sickness with like gut things. You know?
I didn't have any sickness. I had
not sickness. I guess
diarrhea.
diarrhea. Yeah,
which I felt great. I just was annoyed by the occasional explosive diarrhea.
And you know, Ryan and I and you, we've talked about this a lot. Where you know, I didn't experience that. I just experienced the tiredness for those. That was probably a 2 to 3 week window where it was like every day was a struggle to like.
There was
function.
A sense of intense physical exhaustion.
Yeah. But
like I gave myself permission not to exercise at all. Just climbing the stairs and sitting in front of my computer was like, ooh, that was rough. There's no energy at all.
Mm-hmm. And it was a struggle to get through each and every day. And then it was like, well, I mean, it's over.
I just would sleep. I was like, well, I'd get up, come up here, and I just gave myself permission to just sleep if I was tired.
Yeah.
And I did.
Right.
And within a few weeks, that all passed. So the foundation, I think, of that fitness for me has been basically the carnivore diet.
The animal-based diet.
Yeah. And then I have added, and then I've done testosterone replacement therapy. This is year 5, I think. My testosterone is, I think, around 700 to 800. It's not like super high. And I don't take much. I take like a tiny, tiny little bit of testosterone Sunday night and Wednesdays. And so I kind of divide the dose up. It's so small, I barely can get into this range. So I've even considered talking to the doc and trying to just completely stop. And I don't know what happened, because when I first started, I had really low T levels, and now they've climbed back up to where it feels as though my testicles are doing the work it needs to be done. So it seems like the body has undergone some level of healing and repair and wellness that I didn't have before. Another thing that I used to be struggling with was getting sick. When I'd work out really hard or do a really intense hunt and beat down my body and my immune system, I'd get sick, and I would also break out in cold sores. I even had a prescription for the drug Valtrex for just dealing with it on a regular basis. It got to that point the last few years. I'm like, dude, what the hell? And it seemed like if I exercised really hard, sweated it out, grinded, didn't get any sleep,
stressful situations,
cold sore breakout. And I had those since birth. I was born with those cold sores. They'd be there my whole life, but they really were the last 4 years or so, 3-4 years, where it was like I got a prescription. I haven't had a cold sore since I started carnivore. I also haven't really gotten sick. I got sick once in the last year, but everybody got it.
Yeah, like we caught like a little like 3-day like cold type symptoms.
Yeah, I think it was like a week for me.
Yeah.
Ryan got sick for like a week, and he hadn't been sick forever. He blamed it on adding blackberries back to his diet or something. I'm like, no, Ryan, I think it had simply to do with, you're not Superman,
right?
You know, and I think it was COVID. It was some strain of that, which is still something that our whole society is kind of adapting to. Not sure, but it was a flu. It was just a little cold, and it passed pretty readily. I breathe real clear.
That is what I have like have noticed.
There's no like swelling or the intake of oxygen through the nose and all of the nasal. It's like so clean, and I don't snore anymore. I used to, and I was fit, but I would still snore.
Yeah,
I never snore, which is weird because you all hunted with me,
right?
Between the gas and the snoring, I just thought that
was a real thing.
I just thought that was life. Don't snore anymore.
It's not. Like it's gone, and
which means I must be sleeping with less apnea. You know, where
much
I'm
deeper.
Like, where oxygen, the air just goes right in, and I just, have a nice deep sleep. That could be why I sleep less hours than I used to need.
Yeah, right.
Wake up more refreshed. I'm not sure, but the breathing is pretty cool because I swear I felt like I was struggling to get good oxygen in the system before carnivore, and now I don't. And if I ran a lot and exercised, I breathed better, but I'd have to exercise like a lot. So going back to what I do on the exercise front, I do not put in the volume of exercise that I did. I don't seem to need to for the same level of fitness that I used to, that I have maintained, which is kind of surprising. Again, it's like, wow, I'm fit despite the fact I'm putting in half the work. The other day I was watching Bella, who is the steak and butter gal on YouTube with my daughter, because my daughter has been carnivore for 3.5, 4 months. And she's a little different than me in what she prefers to eat. And so we're both doing the carnivore thing, but she's doing a lot more of certain foods because they suit her better. And it's working really well. She's looking vibrant and fit and lean and strong and has energy and sleeps well. So it's pretty cool to see her whole transformation. It's beautiful, beautiful. I mean, the diet has completely transformed her. But we were watching the video and Bella was talking about how she had recently begun to exercise, but she had done her blood work prior, did her blood work regularly for the last 5 or 6 years since she started carnivore, and she's tracked her journey. And for 5 years, she did not exercise.
Yeah.
She had real bad, she did vegan for years and it wrecked her. And so when she was trying to heal and she kind of come on the carnivore community, this is 5 years ago, it's going on 6, she improved her whole life. It changed her. And she has now documented her journey on the Steak and Butter Gal channel. And she's gone through evolutions and changes, like from no dairy to some dairy to lots of butter.
And we all, I think, as you continue to stay on it, we all have completely.
Yeah. What I was consuming 6 months ago, completely different to now. Yeah. Some things are the same, but it's evolving all the time as my body is evolving. It's really easy, actually. Carnivore's easy. It's one of the easiest things I've ever.
I don't have to track macros.
No, it's just
how much I eat and calories.
Yeah, it's a strange new world we're in right now. But she talks about how her husband, on the other hand, Steak and Butter Gal Bella, her husband was working out quite a bit. They went and got their blood work done, even though she did not exercise for 5 years. Like none. Yep. She's stressed. None. Her muscle mass was super high. Yep. Especially for her body weight. Her extra fat, lean, just enough that she was in great shape. Her markers were a lot better than her husband's, who is someone who worked out regularly.
Correct. But he was not full carnivore.
No. And so what's shocking is not doing, she's like, look, I'm lazy. I did nothing, no exercise, like no effort at all. And yet she had lots of muscle, lots of fitness, lots of ability to run out and do things on the regular when she wanted to, without all this exercise to go with it.
Yep.
And she would talk about how she hated going over to Sean Baker's house and doing any fitness because she didn't want to like she wasn't in shape. And yet she's in still, you're talking about someone who never, ever, ever exercises and yet still had a base level of wellness and fitness that was shocking.
Right.
And then when she stepped into the arena of, okay, now I'm going to actually exercise for the first time in like half a decade and start putting some hours in and some effort in. And her body basically, she said, pretty well adapted very easily to it. And she's been able to put on a lot more muscle and stuff. But with that, she found that her nutritional needs went up quite a bit. Powerlifting needs more, and she found she was getting better results by consuming more dairy.
Yeah.
So kefir, raw milk, raw cheeses, by incorporating more of that into her diet, she found that she was recovering faster and being able to keep up with that muscle gain and growth and fitness that she's pursuing. But had she tried to do it 2 or 3 years ago, her immune system couldn't process those foods without a reaction, an ill reaction. So I've noticed that when I'm exercising more intensely, I can only eat so many like New York strips and burger and roast and beef, and I end up craving. I just need some calories that are just a stack higher.
Yep.
And I process that dairy very well, so I end up with a lot more egg yolk and milk in the form of like ice cream in my Cuisinart. It's really just 4 egg yolks, 2 cups of cream,
Right.
and salt,
Pinch
and
of salt.
some vanilla.
Yep.
And I have that on the days I do a heavy workout, which is about 2 days a week, with some minor exercise another day. So my workouts are 3 days a week right now. And it feels like a great dose. I will increase it as we come out of winter and we hit the spring, and I'll ramp up. But for now, I'm really busy with a lot of other things, but it's the right amount of stimulus to get some base levels of strength and fitness I'm trying to work on right now. Adding that little bit of dairy and cream and egg yolks, is just the fat, I guess. There's not a ton of protein in that.
Yeah.
But it's like I need that little extra, and I'm thriving with that. But a chuck roast goes a long way too, and there's just so much fat in it, and I'm getting better at digesting higher amounts of animal fat. Mm-hmm. If I had eaten, like the last week or two, I've had a little bit of like some really brisket and some high fat stuff, along with the fat that comes off that chuck roast and the broth and stuff. It's just like a layer this thick of hardened, when it cools in the fridge. Before it would have given me diarrhea. It's not now. It's just giving me a nice soft little stool that squirts right out.
Getting a bile in your gut.
I think I'm just adjusting to the carnivore, and I bet you in another year, I'll be able to consume higher levels of fat like you and Ryan have been this whole time. Yep. But doing the dairy thing and the egg yolks, I don't have problems with that at all. It doesn't translate. I don't seem to have any allergies. Now, for a minute there, I was complaining a little bit about dairy causing some phlegm or something like that, and a little not sure about it. And turns out that was the yogurt that I was eating. It was not the cream. It was the yogurt, and the yogurt I was getting was like that Oikos Greek yogurt that Suzanne was getting, and I don't know what is in it, but it was causing mucus and reactions and discomfort and stuff, and the difficulty with the breathing and all that. As soon as I went to straight like heavy cream only and no yogurt, it all cleared up. And so the cream was not a real issue there,
right,
at all.
Yeah, that's one thing I really haven't. Like a few times I've had some yogurt, but I count it like probably on 3 or 4 fingers the amount of times I've had yogurt. The rest has been cream.
Yeah,
cream
the yogurt
and butter.
It wasn't good. It was bad.
Interesting.
So I don't know if it's some, it's a fairly clean yogurt, no sugar, but it didn't matter. There's something about it that is causing some level of inflammation and irritation that I don't need it. It was convenient. What I'm doing for exercise, I like hiking and running. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of snow though. And so some of these verticals are there's a lot of snow. It's kind of hard to go through it. It's very cold. So I've been doing a lot more on the row machine. So, I'll do kind of row 500 to 1,000 meters every day, just to get the blood pumping. And then some days I'll go a couple thousand meters when I'm working out, just as my warm up. Exercise bike, same thing, just to get some work done. And then my focus this time of year is a lot of body weight stuff.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing a lot of, just because I don't have any fancy
there's a lot
weight
you can
stuff.
do.
I think I have a total of about 55 pounds between the set that I picked up at the DI a while ago.
Yeah.
I can screw them together, and I get about 55 pounds is the most. And so it's like burpees, push-ups, and then with that little bit of weight, and I'll throw, weight in my backpack. I'm the worst person about going to a gym ever. Mm-hmm. I can't.
It's not my favorite either, unless it's a CrossFit gym.
Yeah. And I will say, if I had like a CrossFit gym closer that I wanted to go to, or like Black Flag that was close or something, I would probably do it more.
Yeah. I've been down at Black Flag and Mountain Ops. There are 2 gyms, a few times, because I'm headed down there a couple days a week.
Yep.
So I've been hitting the weights while I'm there. So I've been doing body weight, and gymnastics type, because there's a lot you can do anywhere you want. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot to be gained from that, without any special equipment. So push-ups, sit-ups, I've been doing a lot of handstand push-ups and holds. I've been doing a lot of pull-ups on the bar, a lot of Olympic ring work, and it's very scaled and not impressive. And I'll do this for the next 2 months, so that I can do 100 push-ups fairly simply. I can do plenty of pull-ups. I can do handstand push-ups, sets of 12 to 20. I want to be at those base levels. Single leg squats in the form of pistols.
Right.
That's another one where I'm doing those 2 to 3 days a week. So I'm doing all of these sort of gymnastics, very controlled and strict push-ups, strict pull-ups, strict single leg squats, handstand push-ups, all of those things with the proper form, scaled until they're not scaled. Like the rings right now, I haven't done a muscle up in a while because I just didn't have the setup and I hadn't been doing anything. And now I'm doing, scaled sets with a rubber band where I pull myself all the way up and go through the dip and back down again. And I'll do like 3 in a row, but I'll have a little like rubber band kind of around my ass, kind of giving me a little bit of an assist. And in a couple of weeks, I'll be able to do it without any assist.
Yeah.
And then I'll get back to building it'll snowball. I'll get a little faster. Like when you don't have to kip to do a handstand push-up, at all. Now I'm like cranking out, 10 handstand push-ups and then I want to get to 13 or 14. Well, then I'll kip the last 2 or 3 to sort of try to fatigue those muscles to that max level.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't do it at all. You're stuck in that bottom position.
Crazy? And maybe, I don't know, you can tell me your perspective, but like we've all kind of hit like a weight that we just sit at.
Yeah.
And I've been doing a lot of running, like both just running outdoors, but then playing a lot of basketball off and on because it's kind of like the off season. So I'm like, this is my time to like go play ball.
Yeah.
Because when I'm in the hunting, like I don't play any ball when I'm hunting.
Yeah.
In those seasons. And even doing all this running, I'm running like 5-6 miles, minimum a day, which is a lot for me. Like I can go do it, but I just haven't been doing it that much. And times are faster, and I have zero weight loss, like muscle loss.
Yeah, right.
Doing it, and I'm like, running this much, doing this stuff before, like I'd cut 3, 4, 5 pounds every time. And to this day, I am like, I sit at 192 to 193 every day.
I've been going pretty hard so back to my routine, like a lot of this gymnastics or calisthenics, this body weight stuff, I was able to do through the CrossFit, my journey in CrossFit for, a lot of people can't do anything on the rings or do a handstand walk or a handstand push-up. Maybe not even see they can't even do push-ups.
Right.
So those are just basic body movements, single leg squat, that a pistol that I developed the strength to do over a long period of time. I remember when I first tried to do a one-legged squat, I was like, how is it even done?
Right.
I remember getting down and I couldn't even bend like that without my knee like feeling it was going to explode, let alone like
that's me.
Bring myself back up.
My left foot, I can do one-legged squats all day long. My right leg, I'm like, they got to be assisted because just from knee surgeries and stuff, I just can't do them.
So,
fully.
but I have that foundation. I'm lacking a little bit of strength because I've not really had a gym since we moved to this area. Haven't been able to be consistent with it like I want. Same with the rings.
Yeah.
So I can build on that foundation, but someone else could come along and do push-ups. You can do air squats. You can do box squats. Anyone can come along and start doing like an assisted type pull up with one leg on a bucket and, work on some of that. All those movements, especially if you do them the right way,
right,
they're going to increase your flexibility, your strength, your muscle endurance. All that stuff should be just like basic stuff. Get on the floor, roll around, do some basic body movement exercises and just work on those. The other part that the row machine gets my heart rate up a little bit, but the one exercise that if I just want to keep my heart rate up and do kind of a full body thing, it's burpees, dude. 50 burpees.
There is nothing
to 100 burpees.
My kids make fun of me because I'm always like, my boys are getting of age where I'm like, I'm still going to whoop your freaking butts for another 20 years, boys. Well, this is 11. He'll be going on 12. But we'll sit down. I'm like, let's do some burpees, boys. Mm-hmm. And they hate it. They hate it. And I've got to the point where, like, I don't mind burpees. I used to hate burpees with a passion. Yeah. And I've got to the point where, like, I don't mind burpees. They are an overall perfect, with no weight, fitness routine that kind of works head to toe.
They get your heart rate up in a way that shocks people.
Yeah.
When Brian and Barney and I did that workout together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like with elk shape and stuff and lampers. I remember Barney and I were teamed up as partners. We ran down this thing and ran back, and I was sucking wind and he was like having a conversation. It was easy, but he runs a lot of miles, right? Then we got to the burpee section, and I remember he did like 4 or 5, and he was like, oh, like he could not breathe. The oxygen was just sucking life out of him. And something about burpees is highly oxygen demanding.
Right.
If you're doing it,
and if your muscles are not used to that, they scream for oxygen quickly.
Yeah, really. Which is funny because my oxygen, I'm doing a 8-minute mile pace, 9, and I can hardly breathe. We get to the burpees and it's rest phase. Like I need to be doing 50 to 100 at a pretty high pace for me to lose oxygen. Other guys get to 8 and they're like, they have to double over and catch their breath. And I do remember back in the day when I first started how much of a suck fest burpees were. All right, folks, we got a new discount code for you for a product you can try if you want to. It's Black Flag's Revenge. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Mountain Ops Ignite. I love Ignite. I love the pink lemonade. If you use the code Gritty over at Mountain Ops, you'll save. If you use the code Gritty over at Black Flag, you'll save. I like the Black Flag Pink Plunder. It's a little bit of a intense energy, what do you call it? Energy drink?
I guess it'd be a pick-me-up?
Workout kind of pick-me-up drink. For all you like
addiction-related folks.
Yeah, for those that are that don't feel much from caffeine, you should try the Revenge. It's got a little kick to it. We love both partners, both companies. Work with both of them. We're going to have some drinks coming from Stealthy Nutrition soon. Mm-hmm. So we'll have that too. But like them all, try it out. If you need a little pick-me-up, check out the new Black Flag Revenge. I like that. Peak Plunder. They have like a couple Sunrise something.
I don't remember the names of it.
But use the code Gritty over there. Go to
Black Flag. So it's BLKFLG.com.
Check that out. Use the code Gritty and let us know what you think.
I was the same way. Absolutely. I mean, I've told you this many times. Like, I despise burpees.
Yeah.
But I don't have much of a gym and stuff at the house, and it's like just I can do it quickly.
Yes.
I'm like I'm enjoying burpees as of late.
Yeah, and I can't stress enough if you do engage in those movements I'm talking about. I liked like Kelly Starrett's book,
Becoming a Supple Leopard.
Yeah, Supple Leopard. There's other resources where you can look up, like Chris Spieler. I love his movement patterns.
Yes.
You can look up Mayhem CrossFit with Rich, and he has Mayhem Hunt now. And they'll have videos where you can go and look at, okay, do your push-up like this, do your burpee like this, do your pull-up like that. If you're doing a pull-up and and your elbows aren't forward and you're not moving in this position,
right,
you're at an extreme risk for really damaging your rotator cuff and hurting your body more than you're helping. Mm-hmm. So I really focus heavily on movement patterns, like proper mechanics in everything I do. Yeah. And that translates to even when I'm out hunting, when I squat to pick something up or to move something or get into the creek bed or whatever, all of the things I do is with the right movement pattern.
I would say that. And on the other side of it, like, when we're packing a heavy pack and you slip, that's when people I think that's when it gets people the most into trouble. Is because that's a movement that you can't predict, when you're going to bend down and grab something, you can kind of predict how you're going to do that.
That's where strength and mobility prevents you from blowing out a knee or an ankle or hurting your back or something like that.
Yep, for sure.
And it's so empowering to feel like that. I mean, I published that caribou video to the Gritty Films YouTube channel the other day, and I hadn't seen it in a while. And I'm watching, and I see myself like pulling that 350 pound caribou across the the tundra or the dry spot. Some people left a comment, and so I checked it out. And I'm like, oh yeah, and I look at it and I'm like, I take it for granted because I'm pulling sleds and moving weight and stuff. But I see that, yeah, for a lot of people, dragging that thing 20 yards like that was not something they can do.
Right. Well, I mean, we take it for granted because we do so many long hunts and the camera gear and stuff. Like when we go to the summit and we do, like, I always, like, I don't know, because I dominate there. I love the backpack challenge. Because like I'm fast, I pack heavy load, and
I suck wind.
And I'm like, I don't know, to me to throw on an 80 to 100 pound pack, and to go hike my butt off, I'm like, I thrive at that. Yeah, and we all thrive at that.
Yeah,
and
I would say, like, people might say to me, you know, well, do you need to do what you're doing, Brian? Especially the upper body stuff, those pull-ups, the rings, and all of that. And for my response is, there's a couple things at play here. I enjoy it. It's fun. But mostly as I age, what I want is strength and mobility.
Yeah.
When I draw my bow back, I want my shoulders to be really strong. So when I grab the Olympic rings and I've got them overhead and I spin my whole body through them, and I'm down here and now my arms are bent clear up in the sky and my toes are pointed to the ground, and I'm settling into that position where the rings are trying to pull my shoulders out of socket, but they're fully twisted behind me. And then I engage the muscle to pull my body back through that skin the cat move on the rings. That gives my shoulders strength and mobility that guys my age lost 20 years ago.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so when I am doing something else down the road, like shooting a bow, or I lift something up, or I pull myself up a tree in a branch or whatever, I'm not at risk of injury that my peers are at.
Yeah.
And same with the one-legged squats and the other things that I'm doing. It's because I want to maintain strength and mobility through age.
Yeah.
And that's why I put a lot of time there. And I enjoy it too. So you go back to what you like to do more of it. Do whatever you like. And I enjoy playing sort of handstand walking, like it's kind of a game for me to see how long I can stay up.
And like for me, you know, I mean, I absolutely love, like, people kind of roll their eyes sometimes, and I'm like, no, I literally I do it a 75 pound, 100 pound, and 150 pound setup that I have made for my pack through sandbags that I put on there, and I'll throw that 150 pounds on. And every time I do the 2.25 mile loop on my property, I always do it for time. Like, to me, it's a game every time I do that, and I absolutely love it.
There's some fun in that, you know, and we tend to like to do what we're good at, and you don't want to fall into that trap too much,
right?
But you ought to go after what you really enjoy. Exactly. If you like a certain thing and it's increasing your fitness, do it. Even if you're doing it too much, it's better that than go, oh, I got to do this thing again. I hate doing blah, blah. You want to balance it. You know, you want to push yourself, but don't be afraid to just go in on the things you really love to do.
Yeah. Well, it's like we talk about standing at our desk, you know, we'll stand for 8, 10, 12 hours a day.
Yeah. That's another thing.
And people, when they hear that, when I'm like, you know, I hear buddies of mine, they're like, you know, sitting on a desk on my back, and I'm like, just stand.
Yeah.
Well, I can't stand all day. And I'm like, well, no, you do 2 hours.
You bring up
do 4 hours. Do 6 hours.
talking point that we should break down too. I often wonder, like, how am I in such good shape when I don't even do anything?
Yeah.
But there is something to be said. I'll get up at 6 o'clock, 6:30, and I'll get at my desk, and I will literally crank on a movie production till 10 p.m. And I have stood there from 6 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, which is well, how many hours? Like, and I have not sat down.
I mean, 16 hours probably
at all. Not one time. I've stood the whole time, and I'm
6 is 12,
and I'm not tired, and my legs aren't, and my feet don't bother me, like, because I've been doing this for 12 years. I've been standing at a desk.
Yep.
I've been standing at a desk longer, 15 years.
Longer. I started standing at a desk when I was doing desk work in 2019.
And I started in 2012.
Yeah.
And then when I went to Gritty and I I just continued standing at home.
Yep.
And I think a decade of standing from morning till dark, and I'll put in hours and I don't even notice.
Yeah.
And then people will come over and they'll stand for 1 hour and they're like, dude, I need to sit down. I'm like, what? I don't even remember. So perhaps some degree of our fitness is the fact that we are standing all day. And that is a form of exercise.
Could be.
To an extent where you're load bearing all day long. And for endurance level, because I will sit there for 15 hours standing 8, 9, 10 days in a row.
Yep.
And all I've done is sit there for 15 hours a day.
Yeah.
That is, and I haven't got the exercise. I haven't done which I think overall it's fine, but I do feel then I start to lose mobility because during that day, I'm not doing squats. I'm not getting bent into these various positions. I'm not doing burpees, when I'll go through some of these editing phases for 2 or 3 weeks. And it's like, oh, yeah, you're losing some of that strength and mobility, but I'm still maintaining something from that standing all day.
For sure. Absolutely. And I don't know, like, one thing I do want to get better at, and I have said this off and on multiple times, you guys can hold me accountable, but is going to like the gym, just because I don't know, there are more movements there and stuff that I can do that I don't.
I'll kind of finish, but telling you where I'm at. Like I have all those, like I said, body weight, all that kind of stuff, mobility work and gymnastics type stuff, and then the burpees are sort of that metabolic exercise, that cardiovascular challenge, and I'll just do 50 or 100 all in a row for time, and it'll be a 5-minute workout, but that's all I need for that stimulus to have that cardiovascular wellness, for the most part, and then I can get back to work and doing other things. And because I've sort of developed that base, it's not that taxing,
No.
But I love running, but I haven't been able to do a lot of it for the last 3 or 4 years because my Achilles and my calves would like give me problems. And I remember I was looking around trying to figure out what the hell was going on there. And I remember talking to Cameron Haynes about it, and he's like, yeah, I quit doing cleans and power cleans and a lot of leg working out because it would mess with my running and I'd get similar things. Dude, I didn't want to give up that stuff. I love getting under the bar. I love doing that. And I don't think it should be mutually exclusive activity. Yeah. So I started messing around with, trying to break loose the scar tissue and work on my calves a little bit more, which I've done a lot of with the Theragun and balls and just rubbing and stuff like that. But I also went ahead and allowed myself to just get some like fancy running shoes, which I had not had in a long time. I had tried to go with this minimalist type shoe forever. And I was like, my brother-in-law runs marathons and others, and they're like, these shoes just work really well. So I got a pair and I started running again, and no Achilles issues, nothing. Like I was stacking 3 to 5 miles a day for about 2.5 weeks. And I was feeling great. The only problem is I got this hemorrhoid issue, which I don't know when it came from. I was talking to some docs the other day, and they're like, well, it's most likely it was from bowel movement, nothing else. I'm like, not from weightlifting. And like, that's what the people say. But these specialists are like, it has everything to do with, some kind of bad bowel movement, that caused something to happen. But anyway, so that slowed me down a little bit because running is the thing that triggers the hemorrhoid, flare up more than anything else. I can do all kinds of things, but running, it's like the jarring of the constant whatever. I don't know. So, but it looks like I've had it for a couple years, but it looks like, and maybe it was a heavy pack out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just a massive pack out, which I had.
There's only been a few of those.
It's only been a few. And that load is on your pelvic floor. And I know I had a hernia, umbilical, born with it, right? But it sort of peaked out when I had a heavy load one time. And And so then they went in and put a little piece of mesh there and stuff and blocked that
Right.
off. But I mean, so I can feel like, an umbilical hernia or something, having things from a heavy backpack load. You're 50, you've been through a few.
He's old.
And so maybe that's where it came from. But it looks like they do what they call banded ligation, where they just put like a rubber band over.
Kind of like castrating a calf.
It is. It's just like that. They just like grab that skin that's a problem, put a little band on it, falls off, and you're fixed in a few days.
Right.
And it looks like you don't really get them again very often. It's once they've taken care of it, especially if you're fit. They're like, look, you're a fit guy. Kind of, you had some kind of, problem. We fix it. It's not something that it's the 300-pound dude who's eating Cheetos and sitting on the couch all the time that has these, gets another one and stuff. They're like, guys like you address it, it's gone. So I have an appointment here, and dude, they wanted it was like 90 days to get a damn appointment. I called like 9 doctors. I'm like, seriously? We can't get, you have to go to like a gastroenterologist or whatever. So, in full disclosure, we're gonna nuke that. We're gonna castrate.
Don't get old, folks.
Stay
young. No,
that little roid, and then I'm back on the road again, and I'll start running.
I've been running a lot and started playing ball a lot.
I got those Cameron Hanes Speedway, or what are they called?
I'm not sure.
They're
his new shoes.
I got those. There's a few other ones out there that are similar. And they have in them, though, they have the carbon fiber
sole
insert.
Yeah. So I have for years. So in 2017 was the first year I did it. I bought the Victory, the carbon fiber insoles, played ball in those. And then I bought a second pair in
Brad's been extolling the virtues.
2020, I bought a pair that were designed for running.
Yeah.
And then last year I bought another pair for the running side of it that are new and advanced. And I've tried to wear them hunting, and when I'm in super, they're like a stiff boot.
Yeah.
They're awesome in steep country, but as soon as I have that 1/2 mile to 4 mile pack out on the flat, I was like, feet hurt, tired. If I'm not like actually flexing them, like I'm running or playing basketball or something. So I took them out of the hunting boots.
I got them. They've been great. Like I said, I have not had any calf issues or anything. And so the only thing slowing me down is I just don't want to, I want to get that roid thing fixed, that hemorrhoid fixed. Yeah. But finally, the thing that I do still like twice a week is heavy external loading. And I don't think when guys will ask me like, well, like, what do you do to be in shape, blah, blah, blah. The thing that I think transformed the shape and the look of my body more than anything else I've done, all the calisthenics, push-ups, pull-ups, blah, blah, they all do some stuff. And I think everybody has a little bit different genetic makeup and response.
For sure.
But the one thing that I learned was lifting a barbell, mass external loading changed my body composition in a way that nothing else ever did by a landslide. It transformed the way I look.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is because when you're picking up a bar from the ground, right, and you're pulling it up and you're getting it to your shoulders and you're putting it overhead and then you're squatting it, you're talking about like external loading. You can't do like 150-pound bar dumbbell very easily,
right. But
you can do with 2 hands and a bar, 225 pounds to your shoulders. It's one of those it's one of those things where you can push your body with an external load that is so big, but safe enough, done well, that it stimulates in you a response, at least in me, for connective tissue, bone density, strength.
Right.
Muscles pop out in places that they just never showed before. And my core hit a level it never hit before. Because if you're taking a 200-pound bar, and I come up to it and I'm pulling it up my body and I'm catching it on my shoulders, elbows out, and then I jerk it. I drop into the position and I catch it overhead.
Yeah.
And I'm holding it there in like a split jerk. And that bar is over my head and it's 200 pounds, let's say 225, whatever it is. And my core has to be engaged. My
Mhm.
hips, my legs, my feet, my toes, every bit of your body had to go through and execute to get the bar up to your shoulders and over your head.
Right.
And when you have heavy weight overhead, look at what your core has to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Your abs, your back, your shoulders, everything has to like hold
lock in
place. You are getting way more core strength out of that than you are out of 30 crunches.
Oh, absolutely.
The crunches are like doing like an external level of your abs, but not your actual core, like deep inside.
Exactly.
And so it's not strengthening your back necessarily. It's not strengthening all those hip flexor muscles. So there's something about those heavy external loads. And you can begin with just a bar for squats and deadlifts. Do those with the right form.
Yeah.
Under load a couple days a week, lightly until you get stronger. And I have built more strength that way that translates into the rest of my life than I ever did through all the burpees and push-ups in the world.
I probably should do more instead of just relying on stupid, dumb farmer strength and like giftedness, I guess.
Yeah.
Because we'll go do some of these lifts, and I'm not a lifter by any means, but I'm like, I can do them very well for the most part, and I'm really strong, but they're not perfected.
Yeah.
And so, like, I do need to get in more.
Well, it's just one of those things that I'm a big believer in, lifting that bar, heavy external load, whether it's a farmer carry or whatever.
Yeah.
Those heavy loads that are different than body weight. They, you combine that with like being able to do a handstand push-up. There's all these little muscles and coordination things.
It's only because his arms are like 4 inches shorter than his biceps look like they do.
I mean, one thing I'll say is like, some people will say like, Brian, you're looking jacked right now. A lot of what people mistake for like a bicep is actually the tricep.
Right.
When they look at a shoulder and they go, oh, you got kind of big shoulders, you're broad. Well, they're looking at your traps. They don't realize that your traps just got done doing 200 pounds, for like 3 months. And you start to have a shape appear. And one of the things about CrossFit that in the Olympic lifting in general that people sort of never quite realized was how many muscles are in the shoulder and the back.
Yeah.
Like
that are being engaged versus just doing a basic pull up or something.
Yes. So a lot of what you see in your CrossFit athlete body is back and shoulders. It has nothing to do with the front. It's like hardly the front does much at all,
Right.
And it's actually not that functional or useful compared to what you're getting when you're doing all these bar lifts and stuff. And a lot of what you see when I'm in a t-shirt is actually it's the lats, the traps, the back, the shoulders. It's that stuff that came from all the barbell work. It has nothing to do with, and I can look at a guy that does a lot of like bodybuilding type stuff. And then I can look at a CrossFit guy and I can go, okay, their bodies look different because one is sort of sculpting a body through isolated,
engaging many other muscles that
like in isolation. So they might have a really narrow V-shaped body.
Yeah.
That's not really a CrossFit because you're going to lose that by being able to deadlift 500 pounds. You're not going to be V-shaped. You're going to have this wide bottom that sort of more square,
I'm all
like
bottom.
bodies are different.
Yeah.
And when you do functional movement under load, more of that sort of CrossFit style, your body like adapts according to that functional style. Where if you bodybuild, you'll see a lot of guys with a big chest, big biceps, less shoulder,
curls
less
for the girl,
less traps, and I don't know, it's a different looking figure.
For sure.
Not then there's just freaks like Bomar, those traps are.
Oh, I know. He's a beast.
It's this big dude.
And one is just naturally big anyway.
Well, yeah, born like just a monster, and then you add fitness to it.
Many years of fitness.
There's a ton of guys out there that are just blow my mind on that.
Yeah. Well, that's where you go to the CrossFit gym, you're in your element, and you are out hiking and stuff too. But when I throw on a heavy pack, I'm like, I'm in my element.
Yeah.
Man. Like
Same with Ryan.
Same with Ryan. And
people are like, how do you keep up with Ryan's, 6-foot strides and Brad? And it's like, I don't really.
Yeah.
I want to. I wish I could. But on a flat with a load, you're just going to stride out on me. And
Right.
but if you and I were to do some sort of
some Olympic lifts or something,
mm-hmm.
unless they're deadlifts or squats, but upper body, I'm going to struggle. But deadlifts and squats, I'm like, I can hang.
Right. Like everybody has sort of a, I'm always about just maximizing your fitness, doing the things you love. And so I have to work harder at the hiking.
Absolutely.
But I'm sufficient,
Right.
Anytime it comes down to, hey, we got to run up this mountain, I'll keep up just fine.
Exactly.
If it's a sprint, where I struggle is that in between.
Mm-hmm.
That spot where you guys
drive all day is like we're in fourth gear just cruising. That's like our
that's like a gear where I don't have, and so I'm burning the future with every step to keep that pace.
Right.
Or if I drop it a notch, I can go all day.
Mm-hmm.
But when you hit that red line phase, it's like I can go the red line as long as you or anybody else.
Right.
To get in position to shoot that animal, to do that thing, to sprint up the mountain. I've never struggled with that. I've never fallen behind. Hey everybody, if you like the show and you want to support us, head on over to Mountain Ops. If you're in need of a new merino hoodie, or you want some workout clothes, or you just want a little pick-me-up. I like the Mountain Ops Ignite, especially like the pink lemonade flavor. It's a good one. I recommend that. Head on over to Mountain Ops, use the code GRIDDY. You're going to save, and it's going to help us keep bringing you the show. Thanks for tuning in. Now, let's get back to the show.
It's just like when we go to the gym with you and I, and we're lifting heavy load for time. It's like, that's where I struggle. You're in your element. Mm-hmm. And then when we get to the cardio side of things, I'm like, see ya. And so we're very competitive when it comes to that because we're good at different things.
Yeah, and I can look at the workout on a wall and go, oh, I'm going to beat everybody today. And I can look at it and go, oh, I'm going to be mid or at the end.
Yep, absolutely.
And having done it for, nearly a decade, anytime we're moving heavy weight for time and the longer the workout, the more I'm going to separate myself from the rest of the group.
Yep.
The more it's body weight, the more I'm going to get beat by the group.
For sure.
And it's always been the case. The more technical, though, and strength like gymnastics skills, then I'll start to beat the group again. And it's just anatomy, genetics,
everybody's
body.
different.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's what I would say. I'd say it's body weight movements, a couple days a week. It's some cardio in the form of burpees and rowing and a little bit of running and stuff like that. And then it's external loads. It's heavy lifting, squats, cleans, jerks, snatches, deadlifts.
And I don't know, I guess it would be advice maybe that anything I could ever recommend to somebody that, you don't have a gym, maybe you just want to kind of getting started. Like there's nothing that goes unsaid about how good hiking and just walking with a load, a heavy pack, what that does for you.
The issue with some of that is time.
Correct.
That's
a
not
big
that
disadvantage.
hard, but it to get a good stimulus in for a good hike.
Right.
Sometimes I need, if I'm not in the right place or I don't have stairs or the load.
Yeah.
You can decrease the time. If you just go for a walk, body weight.
Yeah.
It's like I got to go like 4 or 5 hours to get a stimulus out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But if I add 100 pounds to my pack and I get on some bleacher stairs, now I can get what I need in like 15 minutes.
Correct.
So, because a lot of the fitness stuff for me is time versus results.
Exactly.
That's where burpees comes in, where you can get a cardiovascular workout, also sort of push-ups, sit-ups, and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Squats, push-ups combined. You can get a good stimulus out of it with minimal, like 3 to 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And you can stack up a certain amount of push-ups you want to do by the end of like this month, I want to be able to do, I can right now, my max is like 22 and then I'm dying. I'd like to get to 50. And then from there you can say, well, I'd like to get to 75 and I'd like to be able to do 100 in a row without stopping, or whatever those numbers are. You can start to set up for yourself these sort of benchmarks, goals, work at them. And my thing, and I say this all the time, is this isn't a race.
Yeah.
There's no destination. It's a process. And just enjoy the day to day. If today you feel like a beast, go harder. If today you're like, man, I can barely get the motivation, go lighter. You're looking at an overall end goal in a year or 2 years from now, not 2 weeks from now.
Yep.
And it takes time to build fitness.
For sure.
And the more consistent you are over the longer period of time, the more it just sticks with you when you're done, when you take a break. And that's why I think a lot of the fitness that I carry with me today was because of a decade of doing it before.
Right.
And once you hit a certain phase of consistency, your body just stays there. It used to be I would work out for 6 months, get to a certain level of fitness, and then not do anything and go back and forth, my 20s, 30s. But when I went like a decade of heavy, hard ass workouts, it's never gone away.
Well, and I'll say
it's like it changed me and kept me.
Yeah. And from, a hunting perspective or whatever, anymore, whether it's slampers, you, me, like we don't let ourselves get out of shape. Like I'm not hiking myself back into shape every year.
Someone asked Joe Rogan the other day, they're like, he's like, my philosophy is this: demand a lot from your body. The key to youth, one of the keys is demand a lot from your body and give it time to rest.
Yeah. Yep.
And then that's kind of it. I think the carnivore diet is like a cheat
code, man. Like,
to sort of bypass a lot of what we're talking about.
Young 36, like, again, it is a cheat code, because even though I'm not lifting much in the gym and stuff, like I am stronger today than I was 5 years ago when I was hitting or 7 years ago when I was hitting the gym every day, working out every day, doing that type of stuff, and doing physical work on the railroad,
Yep.
I'm way more fit. Like, and Ryan has said this, even you, me, like there's absolutely no way right now at 36 that 20, 22, 25-year-old Brad could keep up with the 36-year-old Brad. There is absolutely no way.
One of the things I do when I'm been away from fitness for a while and it's time to get back in, I set for myself, because I'm old, I set for myself a process where I go like this. This is how I approach it. I go, okay, I could do 50 push-ups, but I'm going to do 15. 2 sets. And that's all I'm going to do for a week.
Yep.
And then the next week, it's like, I'm going to do 20 and I'm going to do them 3 days that week. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do that for the next 2 weeks as well. And I keep these numbers ridiculously low, and I keep repeating those minimal efforts. I know I can squat way more, but I'm going to stick with 170 pounds, 80 pounds on the bar.
Right.
Don't care. I'm going to do that for a month. It's monotonous. It's like, this is so easy. The truth is, though, that little foundation, it takes a minute to put together, a month or so, month and a half. And you actually, in that phase, don't need to do a ton to build that foundation.
Well, it's a perfect example.
And I think it helps you avoid injury and fatigue and quitting and all of that stuff.
Yep.
But it feels like you're not doing anything.
Right. But it's the same thing. Like when we put on our 80+ pound packs dry for 10 days, that doesn't include putting water in there.
Yeah.
It's like, that's nothing to us. Like we genuinely mean that. It's nothing to us because we've been doing it so long that our bodies are adapted to that. And so like, yeah, man, it always sucks. Weight sucks to pack on a backpack. But at the same time, it's like, can just go.
But you start out, like I said, like super conservative and just roll with it for a long time. I remember listening to the gymnastics coaches, and their philosophy on strength training was a lot different than bodybuilder or weightlifters. And weightlifters tend to go, what's your max? Go 80% of your max and then do so many reps, and then go to 90% of your max and then just add, or go to your max and now add 2 extra pounds,
Mm-hmm.
two pounds.
Keep max.
And keep maxing and see if you can break your old max, get a personal record, a PR that day. And so you're on the cusp of the maximum you can do.
Yeah.
And you're trying to like add to that maximum and then barely get over it. The gymnastics philosophy was a lot different. It was do like 70% of your max every day for 3 months or for a period for 3 months. Well, weightlifters are like, well, why? You're not going to get those gains you need. And then the gymnastics coaches would be like, okay, you did that every day for 3 months. Now we're going to like go up by 30%. Well, it turns out they can do a 30% increase.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though they didn't ever take the weight to that max PR amount.
Right.
And go over, you know what I mean? And so I was like, it started to make me rethink the idea of strength building and stimulus. So there is something to be said for a fairly moderate, heavy load that you just conservatively keep lifting for 2, 3 months, 4 months.
Yeah.
And part of the theory behind that with these gymnastics professionals was they were saying, look, the amount of time it takes to build muscle is really short. The amount of time it takes to rebuild tendons is like 2 to 3 times longer than muscle.
Yeah.
The amount of time it takes to increase bone strength and bone density is like 20 times longer. So when you're over there just pushing those limits on the muscle, your muscle's catching up quickly, but it's leaving the tendons and the bones behind.
Yeah.
That's a recipe for injury.
Right.
Because now you can do this heavy load, but your joints
But the structure's not there underneath.
are not there yet. It takes time for the bones to get that dense and ready for that load, even though the muscles have caught up. The rest of the body hasn't.
Right.
And so the gymnastics coaches are like, that's why you have to keep, even though you're capable muscularly of going here, your tendons are not capable. When you're doing that iron cross, like think about the tendon strength that must be there.
Right.
The muscles can do it long before the tendons can.
Yeah.
But if you do it too early, the tendons aren't ready and they snap. So that's where
now I think about like I wonder why that you always see those guys that are like are bench pressing heavy all the time, and then all of a sudden that pec gives out,
right?
Because the muscle's there, but the foundation is not.
Yeah. So going moderate on the weight for extended periods of time, I think is a better approach than going to max PRs and try to overcome those. And so that's been my philosophy for like 5 years. So when I get under load or I'm even jogging or running, it's like, well, I could do 7 miles. You know, I'm ready. I want to. But I make myself run 2 miles for like 3 weeks. Then I go to, I just keep it so low. And I don't have injuries. I've never had a knee surgery. I've never had a shoulder surgery, never had a wrist, elbow. I've had no surgeries whatsoever.
He stayed off of motorbikes. He didn't do any cool sports like rodeo.
My point is, like, I've pushed my body all these years and done a lot of intense exercise, fitness, games, basketball, sports, skiing, snowboarding, all that stuff. And I've never had like any sort of catastrophic. I was looking at Dan Staten, the other day. He's got a big knee surgery he did. Anthony as well, cousin Ben. I've never had any of that. Knock on wood. But I think some of that is because I've sort of been intuitive in my conservative nature in building the strength up, so that I didn't go too far too fast. Yep. And it takes a lot of patience, just being willing to be, part of it is delayed onset muscle soreness, DOMS.
Right.
And the older I got, the worse it got for me, where I could do a workout on Monday and feel good Tuesday, Wednesday, and even Thursday. But Friday, it's like Monday's workouts just now, red flags going off.
Yep. And
it's like, my body is betraying me. It's like tricking me into thinking I'm okay. So then I wreck myself Wednesday and Thursday. But there's this latent soreness that I'm sort of not in tune to. So, and that was pre-carnivore. It was really bad. Now it doesn't seem to be, I don't know what the hell was going on. Maybe too much cortisol or something masking the pain or whatever. But I needed signals. I needed to know, like, you smoked yourself Monday, take it easy Tuesday, Wednesday. But I wasn't getting those signals till Friday.
Yeah.
So I started to pull back and go, intellectually, I hit it hard on Monday. I know it. My body's telling me do it again Tuesday, Wednesday, but I'm just going to not.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep my workouts really moderate for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, and then I'll step up, and then I'll keep those moderate and step up. So I'm very slow in my progressions, but in the end, I think I win because I rarely, let's say you do hurt your knee, you're back 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
You're back a year.
Right.
Like, let's say I take it slow. Well, I'm 2 months behind where I could be, but I ain't a year behind.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have catastrophic setbacks. I have I could have got a little further in this 3 months than I did. Then I could be 3 months further advanced in fitness, but at least I'm not a year behind in fitness. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So
he's the pothole thrown in front of him on the football field. I'll take care of that knee. No.
I mean, I've had that's another thing. I've had some pretty catastrophic moments, hitting fences, crashing on a horse, and things that should have snapped or broke something.
Yeah.
But I think that I've been blessed, to have really intense joint strength since I was a kid. That's why I think I also do well with the weightlifting in a way that a lot of my peers don't.
Right.
But I also wonder if it's, some of that is just all the years of, like I said, barbell work, not dumbbell, not calisthenics. I think that the bone density and the ligament strength is so different when you're clean and jerk. Well, I clean and jerk 345. That was my maxes back when I was doing it all the time. To get that much weight off the ground and overhead when you're a 190-pound guy.
Yeah, right.
That's a lot. It's crazy. It's a lot. Most of my peers that were way bigger than me couldn't come close to moving that much weight. Well, that came with bones and ligaments that were really together.
Yeah.
And that came from years of slowly, incrementally building it. But I think it's also genetic. And so that's probably why I haven't had some of these injuries that other people have had.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly on the upper body shoulder area where a lot of my friends are having issues as they hit their 50s and 60s. They never did, a decade of muscle ups and pull ups and ring rows and a lot of the deadlifts and stuff that I've done for shoulders.
Yeah.
And you do it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You're just burning the future.
Yeah.
You do it right, you're building a future.
For sure.
And that's where the proper movement patterns really matter. In the past, we've talked about recovery and using Theraguns and lacrosse balls and all the importance of soft tissue work and all of that. And it is really, really important. But I would say since carnivore,
it's not near as necessary.
I don't have the knots and the soreness and all of that burnt muscle that's really having a hard time getting recovered.
Absolutely.
So
there's every now and then
it's still super important, but man, is it less?
It's a lot less needed. I can second you on that.
Isn't that weird?
Absolutely.
It's kind of nice.
It is super nice.
Just sleep. And
I don't know. I mean, especially now that I'm a month over of slacking on the carnivore over Christmas, I'm that is a solid reminder of I'm not going back. And I didn't eat bad. I ate whole foods. I had some potatoes. I had a little bit of salad. And I had 3 cookies that had a little bit of light sugar in them.
I didn't make the rules.
And it was monk fruit, not regular sugar. It was monk fruit in those, but it was the flour and everything else, I think, that had a bigger... Because my wife made them with monk fruit.
Yeah.
And so it's even now and then, I still do monk fruit.
I listened to a podcast the other day, Paul Saladino with Patrick Bet-David on the Valuetainment show.
Yep.
And they were talking about a lot of interesting things. But one of the things he mentioned was honey.
Yep.
And he said that they took diabetics and they gave them 10 tablespoons of honey a day or something, and nothing happened.
Nothing happened. Monk fruit is almost the same way. So I think with that, all the inflammation that I felt and the crappiness was from the veggies I ate, the flour I ate that were in the cookies.
Yeah.
The process.
Well, what's interesting is his take is basically you can have more honey and more fruit than the typical carnivore diet, theory.
Yeah.
Supposes. And so, And he makes some compelling arguments in that direction. Sean Baker and Chafee aren't quite all on, but Baker did try it for a month and was like, I didn't really notice any difference. But I didn't really notice a benefit necessarily either. It was sort of same. So why add it? Because technically the body doesn't need any carbohydrates necessarily. But I got to say, like, I've been, I don't feel a blood, like if I throw like a tablespoon of honey in that batch, that base of ice cream, I feel nothing.
Same.
I feel nothing but positive. I don't think
I've done it with just the salt with no sweetener really. I've done it with the honey and I've done it with monk fruit.
See, I think so I still have like, you know, I'll have Mountain Ops Ignite. I'll have some Black Flag Revenge. I'll have a little bit of caffeine in those forms when I'm like groggy that day. And I like the Nootropics blend because I'm like, boom, I'm like alert and feeling good and stuff. Extra level. But he mentioned, you know, Saladino, you're kind of robbing the future for the now every time you do the caffeine and the stimulants and all that. They're also a diuretic. They tend to rob you of minerals and hydration, which I do struggle with. My blood work shows that I have to have a lot more in the electrolytes department than I probably should, probably because I have too much caffeine. But then also there's some sweeteners in those things that aren't great. But I like how they feel. It's like an energy drink. It's like a Monster or something, only on another level of way better for you.
Well, it's crazy too how your body, like, you can kind of feel those subtle changes, you know, because I've mentioned this before, like whether it's those or like the Mountain Ops Hydrate, I'll drink that and I do not do great. Like I feel my body just, it's not like it's bad, but I just feel a little sluggishness and something else there that I don't feel great on when I have like the sucralose. But anything with allulose in it or monk fruit, do not feel that at all.
I have some with allulose, but I haven't noticed like the sucralose. There's some things that say, but
I think everybody's different.
I'd have to have, I mean, I think I have to have a lot of that for me to notice. I love Ignite and the Revenge. Like I literally
I've never been like a huge caffeine guy. My entire life.
I
mean here and there, but not.
I try not to have a single scoop of it after like 11 o'clock.
Oh, there's no way I could. Like if I had it, I'm up all night.
So I try to have it like 7 a.m. or something. It's usually when I have it. I've been up for a half hour or so, and then I'll drink it. And then I'm like on things, feeling good, enjoying the feel, and it carries me through, you know. And it's just a little bit of just kind of alertness and just a little uptick in how I feel in the morning.
What I've kind of replaced, I guess it would be a replacement, is what I've noticed the days that I don't instantly wake up and dump a bunch of electrolytes in my body and salt. The days I don't do that, it takes me a little longer to get going. The days that I dump all that electrolytes, as soon as I wake up, hit like 2 bottles. I notice like I'm alert, energetic, and ready to rock and roll just from that.
I drink a big thing of electrolytes every morning, first thing when I wake up, because they talk about how, you know, throughout the night you've dehydrated, your body needs to be replenished with water and electrolytes like first thing, because you know, you just slept, you were just in bed 8 hours or so, and you pee and all that processing and things that happen. And then, but I don't know. I haven't really not done that in like 5 years. It's like the first thing is just a huge glass of electrolytes.
I mean, I heard it. We did a podcast or something like that. This was like in 2021 or something. That was kind of the first time I'd heard it. So I started doing a lot then. And then I was like off and on.
Huberman was one of those that was really pushing that for a while.
Might have been Huberman. But I do notice like if I don't for sure like get it within the first 15 minutes of waking up, I don't like the energy level doesn't come up naturally, I don't think. But there could be something to it. There could be nothing to it. I don't know. Just how I feel.
Well, everybody's a little bit different. My daughter Abigail has been doing the carnivore for, like I said, a few months. And she had her birthday the other day, and she wanted to stick to the carnivore, and so she made a carnivore cake. And I think she got the recipe from Bella. It was amazing. It tasted like cheesecake. It tasted like, I don't know, it was mostly eggs, yolks and stuff, and then it had some cream cheese, which is animal based. It's a very simple cream cheese, nothing with additives or anything. It had cream, and then it had whipped cream on top and blackberries, like a few sprinkled on, and
sounds good.
it was absolutely delicious. No sugar, no other than the blackberry, what was there, and it was everyone that's not carnivore that ate it was like,
see,
this is really
he's
good.
finally getting on my carnivore train of like exploring foods.
I didn't do that.
No,
Abby did it.
I
And
know.
if she didn't, like, I can't be bothered when I could just throw a steak on the Traeger and just eat it.
Right. I do that, but then I'm like, hey, I want a little carnivore treat or something here and there.
That's ice cream.
So
Like, I'll dump it in the Cuisinart and it'll be done in 10 to 20 minutes.
I love my carnivore crack. Like, it's just,
Yeah, I mean,
ugh.
but my point was that Abigail has been figuring out what works for her, and she doesn't like the foods that I like to eat.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to touch a ribeye.
Well, I can basically take a saline solution
Yeah, true.
and where it like sits for hours and then the rest of the salt gets filtered
It's called
out.
the salt cleanse, and it's supposed to cause diarrhea, and it does, except for Brad.
Like, I literally take 30 ounces of water with like a couple tablespoons or whatever of
Tastes like seawater.
Celtic salt, and I'll let it sit, and I'll stir it up, and it will absorb all the salt in
I'm
there.
not
and
convinced that it's good for
and
me. I'm not
what's left
convinced.
over, I just filter out, and then I drink it. And I mean, it's like a saline solution.
Well, for those that are interested in this health topic,
Yep.
Ryan and Hillary, I just put out a podcast, I
Yep.
think a part 1 and 2, maybe
Yeah.
there's more, on the Hunt Harvest Health podcast. If you want to go check that out and
It's a
get
good one.
Ryan's kind of detailed take on the carnivore diet journey he's been on. He covered that the other day with his wife, Dr. Hillary. And so check that out. But just want to say thanks for tuning in. Let us know what you think in the comment section of these YouTube drops. And we look forward to hearing from you. Anything else you want us to cover? Any questions? Hit us up there.
Yep.
Thank you again for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode. Stay gritty.